This evening we're going to talk about prophets and prophecy, and it's a little bit of heavy subject matter, so I'm going to try to break it down for you in a short amount of time. This is definitely an extensive subject that we could spend many hours on. Tonight, however, I'd like to speak a little bit. We'll start with Daniel. We know Daniel was a prophet of the Old Testament, and we know that the prophets of old were also servants of God. By definition of the Hebrew word, prophet actually means speaker or spokesperson. So they were the designated spokespeople for God, to speak to God's people. And remember the den of lions? We got Daniel chapter 6. That was a big faith test for Daniel. And at the time that he was thrown into that den of lions, he had trusted God. He had worshiped God despite what others had decreed. And when they threw him into that den, he had his faith in God, but he did not know necessarily what the outcome would be. It doesn't speak to that. And if you think about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, a few chapters before, they were also in the same situation. They chose to obey God rather than the decrees of men at the risk of certain death. And you can read about that and see. Let's take a quick look at Daniel chapter 6, verse 22. This is Daniel speaking after he survived the night. My God has sent his angel and hath shut the lions' mouths that they have not hurt me. For as much as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt. And then in Daniel chapter 3, we'll read verses 17 and 18. Now, this was before they went into the fire. If it be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. Here it is. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set us up. Or which thou hast set up. Sorry. So they did not know whether they were going to live and die. Or die. They decided that regardless of the consequences, they would not bow down and worship that golden image. And for us today, we do not know how God may or may not providentially deliver us, if at all, from some of the hardships that we may face and endure. They faced a fiery furnace. What's our fiery furnace? What is the fiery furnace for you today, tonight? What is it that's testing your faith? He saved these men, and their faith, they became stronger in faith as a result of it. We know one day that we will die, that this earthly life will be no more, unless Jesus returns first. However, God's plan does not involve sparing us forever to live upon this earth. We know we have to go. It is possible, however, never to give up on God, never to lose sight of that goal of heaven, where all our burdens will be lifted and dissipate away. Genuine faith, however, it relies on evidence. It rests on evidence. We can know for certain that the Bible is God's Word. One of the ways that we can be certain is through prophecy. And the study of it is a significant proof for the inspiration of the Bible. Prophecy gave people hope. God gave his people hope. It gives us hope today. We still have prophecy that we are awaiting on. It involves the present revelations of future events to come. So we know what's to come. Daniel was inspired of God. Let's take a quick look at a case example. It's a little bit deep, so I'm only going to keep it to a few short verses. We're going to read in Daniel chapter 11. Let's just start with verse 2. Daniel 11, verse 2. And now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the 4th shall be far richer than they all. And by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. Let's stop there. If you go back to chapter 10, verse 1, we see that Cyrus was the king of Persia. And after the rule of Cyrus, there were indeed 3 more kings, as it says here in verse 2 of chapter 11. You had the Cambyses. We had Cambyses, ruled from 530 to 522. There was Smerdis, who ruled just in the year 522, quickly succeeded by Darius from 522 to 486. Oh, and in verse 2, let's see, there is something more. And the 4th shall be far richer than they all. And by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. There was a 4th ruler of Persia. That was Xerxes I, from 486 to 465. And he indeed was wealthy. And he did go up against Greece. They did war, and he did quite a bit of damage. Now let's take a look at verses 3 and 4. And a mighty king shall stand up that shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken and shall be divided toward the 4 winds of heaven, and not to his posterity, nor according to his dominion which he ruled. For his kingdom shall be plucked up, even for others besides those. This mighty king shall stand up. Remember Alexander the Great? 336 to 323. He actually launched an assault against the Persian Empire in 334. He claimed victory in 3 years. If you go back to Daniel chapter 8, you can see, particularly in verse 5, it speaks of a vision of a he-goat. And you can read the passage on your own. I won't read it tonight. It's Daniel 8, verses 3 through 8. But Alexander's advance was so fast, it was so decisive, that according to verse 5, his feet touched not the ground. He conquered Persia in 3 years. There's some very clear details here. We also see in Daniel chapter 8, verses 20 and 21, that the kingdoms were actually identified. If you go to chapter 8, the ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. That great horn was Alexander the Great. Now, we see in verse 4 that his kingdom was broken. Alexander died at an early age. He was only 33 years old when he passed, at the height of his power. His kingdom was indeed divided into 4 segments, actually ruled by 4 generals. And we see that here, divided toward the 4 winds. The successors were not his posterity. They were not his sons. And of course, the Greek Empire would never regain the former strength that it had under Alexander the Great. This is just one example of Bible prophecy. Prophecy that is specific in detail, that came to pass with precision. In fact, if you start from the 3rd year of Cyrus in Daniel 10:1, and you go to when Alexander the Great actually died, that was a span of over 200 years. So this prophecy took place over 200 years prior to its coming true. It's important to understand this because Daniel was a 6th century prophet, 6th century BC prophet. And this is just one example. He also prophesied about Rome, which goes right up to Christ's time. So now we're talking not just a couple hundred years, we're talking closer to 500 to 600 years. These things are important for us to recognize, to understand. It gives us faith. It tells us that the prophecies will come true because they have come true. A lot of the information for this I happened to gather from Jason Jackson, who is coming next month, from his book, Stronger Than Ever, which I actually have a copy of. A lot of this, he's talking in a different context here, but he does speak to this vision of Daniel's and provides commentary on it. And as he's coming, Jason is one that can get into these deep topics of prophecy and understanding what they mean, but he also has an understanding of someone who doesn't know the faith, who's just starting to investigate the faith, and he can relate and connect with them as well. He is an asset to the brotherhood. He's an asset to the church. And it is my hope that I will do my part. I will pray for that I will do my part for the church as well. That we can all come together as a congregation to help, encourage for this gospel meeting coming up. We have a great asset coming to us. And we have great assets here. And together, we can all grow. We can be an encouragement to Jason just as he is to us when we study. And so it's my hope that we can really welcome him, to encourage him like we did last time, and to find somebody to invite, to bring, that they may have an opportunity to not just connect and have a basic understanding of God, but have the opportunity to have a deeper understanding like we do. So with that thought in mind, I have only gone over a few minutes. If there are anybody here that need to have prayers asked on their behalf or any other need, please feel free to come forward as we stand and sing.